Hello, everyone. I'm Lori, your host of Recycling Hope, brought to you fresh each and every time right here from the studios of KGEM. If you're a brand new listener, so glad to have you join the workshop. And if you're an old-time seasoned friend, well, welcome back to you. What do we do on Recycling Hope? We repurpose stuff. Now, repurposing, boy, that's a buzzword we're hearing a lot of these days. Repurposing is a smart thing to do. It's been done since the beginning of time, but what is repurposing? Maybe you've hung on to a favorite outfit from 40 years ago, back in the 70s or whatever, and you're wearing it again. That is a practical definition of repurposing. You might be a thrift shopper. You know, we are starting to see everybody show up to the thrift shops. A little segue here for just a tad bit. I also happen to have the honor of being executive director of Foothills Pregnancy Resource Center, wherein a lot of business and church community partners try to find creative venues wherein they can sow into the ministry, into the partnership of the work that we do at Foothills Pregnancy Resource Center. And one such creative community partner was United Methodist Church here in lovely Old Town Monrovia, where they opened a little thrift shop that just happens to be open on Tuesdays and Thursdays, wherein we see everybody. It used to be maybe in the old days, not everyone thrift shopped. Now you see everybody. Well, that's a practical example of repurposing. And if you are a seasoned watcher and listener to the program, you know that sometimes we've done the hardcore repurposing thing, and that is actually pulling something out of the trash, something that was bound for public disposal, and we brush it up. We breathe a fresh breath of life into that piece. Today's no exception. Speaking of a thrift shop, I was at a thrift shop the other day and picked up this lovely spool of wrapping paper. Forget this, an entire buck, $1. The roll was never touched. It's that good heavy duty wrapping paper. And so, you know what? We started to spin those ideas around, and we're developing a whole show. Today we're calling our show We've Got You Covered, and it's probably one of the easiest, cheapest, in total, with all of my little demos here, I'm probably just going through about 2 feet of this wrapping paper. I can't wait to hear your ideas. So let's get started. We've all been to fancy stationery stores where an ordinary envelope is no such thing. You know, you turn these envelopes around and they have these lush decorator paper insides. Well, you know what? Using simple wrapping paper, you can update and give your envelopes at home a fresh new look. Now today you're going to hear me on all of my demos encourage you to build a pattern for each thing that you're doing. So let's start right in with demo 1. If you are going to reconstruct an envelope, and by the way, this is thicker paper. I would say this paper is about 40-pound paper. You want a nice substantial envelope so that you can slowly, it's kind of tedious and take your time, be careful, peel the envelope apart, and voila. You can either trace this envelope onto some durable paper. In my case, for all of my patterns that I'm going to use as demos today, I recycled, I repurposed, imagine that, an old tired manila envelope that I was going to trash anyway. I recycled the paper for pattern weight paper. Patterns are just a smart thing because chances are if you like doing the project once, you're going to do it 10 more times. You may as well build yourself a pattern. Or if you've broken apart an envelope like this, leave this, mark the word pattern across it or something, throw it in your craft drawer, you'll use it again. So for the sake of the demo today, I just opened this envelope and I'm going to use a simple glue stick, paper on paper. So glue stick is going to hold it nicely. But what I did from my wrapping paper was using this basic shape of the envelope, I traced this shape onto the wrapping paper. And I came up with a little bit larger than this, just trimmed it down to scale so that it would fit nicely inside the envelope. And now I'm going to try to do this real quickly here. I am just going to give the inside of my envelope an upscale facelift. Now, bearing in mind when you do this, you want to make sure that you are leaving the top part of where this mucus gummed glue is, so that when I reseal the envelope back to its original shape, which I'm just going to take a sec to do, and once again, I'm just using good old dollar store glue stick because it's just paper on paper, and voila, I have a beautiful fancy envelope. Look at that, where once it was plain, now I've got a fancy envelope. It's good for the letter writing and seal it, and when my guest receives it, wow, they're so impressed that you've crafted a fancy envelope. It's as simple as that. Now we're going to move. I'm going to try to move through a number of demos really quickly. I love hearing from my listeners at home. You guys at home are great about letting me know that, yeah, I watched that show, and because I watched that show, now I'm eager to try something. Let me know what your thrift shop or your tail ends of wrapping paper that you just don't have enough to wrap, let's say, a big box that you're giving away as a gift or mailing, what you can do with those little snippets of leftovers. Now, this frame has been given a fresh facelift before. I actually used wallpaper with this. So bear in mind, all of the demos that we're doing today could be done with either wrapping paper. The heavier the weight, the better quality wrapping paper, obviously the better. But hey, when I picked that roll up for an entire $1 at the thrift store, and I've gone through 2 feet of it with all of these demos by the time we're done today, you can't beat that. But another thing you might do, rather than wrapping paper, for instance, you could go to your local decorator, designer, home makeover type shop, ask to buy for a few bucks from them their wallpaper sample books. That's what I did with this piece. This was actually wallpaper. But now I want to give it a fresh look in this ever so groovy wallpaper or wrapping paper that I found in the thrift shop. Just making a point, we want to trace that pattern. Easily enough done with a frame. All I'm going to do is take out the innards of my frame, the glass, the photo, etc. Put the frame face down onto your pattern material and just trace inside and out. That's as simple as that needs to be. So that's how we came up with our pattern. Now I'm going to cut, for the sake of our demo here at KGEM today, I've taken the time, I've already done this pre-taping where I traced the pattern onto the wrapping paper. So the next step, easy enough, I'm just cutting the wrapping paper. Now I'm at the inside of the frame shape, cutting that away. Hang on to, by the way, all of your little scraps. At the tail end of today's show, I'm going to show you this sweet, adorable idea for using even your scraps. I kid you not, we take repurposing and recycling very seriously here on Recycling Hope, don't we? And here again, I'm going to simply use this glue stick. It's as easy and simple as that because I'm gluing paper right on top of paper. So now I'm going to apply the wrapping paper. That's giving a fresh facelift to the picture frame. Now I'm doing this really quickly. Obviously, when you're at home working on your projects, you are going to be careful and take lots of time. But I'm just doing this really quickly here. I'm going to hold this up. You get the idea. Very simply application, glue stick only, paper on paper. I'm giving a fresh look to an old entire frame that I want to give a little facelift to. Okay, project number 2, down already. This next little demo, these are 2 things, a simple candle, and what would you call one of these? One of these rough and tough tumblers. This is probably like bar or restaurant code. You know the type of tumbler that I'm talking about. This thing is so tough. You could crash it to the ground, and it's probably still not going to break. However, after maybe 5 trillion dishwashings, these things occasionally do crack. You may have an old tired set and it's just time you want a new set of kitchen tumblers. So you may have some of these on hand rather than throw them away. That's rather wasteful, isn't it? Or go to your local thrift shop. Seriously, we probably sell these for about $1.25 a piece. At our thrift shop, I know that we sell bags full of candles. And we are going to make a darling, ever so simple candle out of our tumbler. Once again, I'm using this pattern idea. So you want to develop a pattern that is about, the great width and height and depth that you want to cover the tumbler. And once again, for time in the demo in the studios today, I went ahead and traced the markings of my pattern onto the wrapping paper. I already did that pre-taping, but now I'm just cutting out this wrapping paper. By the way, maybe some of the wrapping paper that you have at home that you would like to use isn't this thick grade. It might be thinner grade. Not to worry. You may have to double up in your layers is all. But it's simple enough. Now my tacky glue, wouldn't you know it, it's being a little, oh, here it comes. Tacky glue, boy, tacky glue makes the world a better place. You can hem clothing with tacky glue. You can hem curtains. You can do quick costume fixes. The world goes round literally because of tacky glue. Now you'll notice for this project, I switched up from just using the glue stick to tacky glue. And the reason for that is when this is a working candle, obviously there's going to be heat from the candle that's given off, correct? Not sure the waxy quality of a glue stick would hold up. So that's why I'm reverting to tacky glue. Tacky glue, you can't go wrong with tacky glue. More on tacky glue in a minute. So look at that, voila. I've just turned a simple, no longer a drinkable, throw-awayable tumbler, but now it's a pretty decorator piece. To really make this a lovely gift, what I might do is put about an inch or so of sand in the bottom of this, set in my candle. Now I know we're completely losing the candle at home for the decorator paper, but you get the idea. That's lovely. You could do a set of these decorator candles, or this is a standalone gift. Just as it is. You might want to decorate the outside, foof it up a little bit more, tie a ribbon around it, tie a piece of raffia, seal it off with a bead or a button, something. You are good to go. One more quickie here before I'm going to do a little commercial. I always segue, for those of you seasoned viewers of Recycling Hope, I always segue into a minute commercial about some fabulous work that we do at Foothills Pregnancy Resource Center that ties into today's theme and the demo project that we're doing, which, remember, today's show we're calling We Got You Covered. Now, this I'm just going to go through the word demo. I'm actually not going to lose glue. This happens to be a lampshade that I have at home in my dining room. I don't want to cover it with this wrapping paper today. But as I looked at the texture of this shade, I thought this might be a fun thing to share on the show. So let me get grooving with this here. Because there are gourds on this lampshade, now I counted all the way around, there are 8 gourds. So let's say my home makeover project, I'm going to replace every other one of these gourds with the stripping of wallpaper, or of the wrapping paper, excuse me. Remember, you can use the wrapping paper, wallpaper interchangeably. Once again, I'm a believer and a stickler in making patterns. The fabric, the material, the product that I used for my patterns was half of an old recycled, the manila envelopes. It's a nice strong weight, so it makes great weight for patterns. So you see how I cut that out, made that work. And here again, hanging on to your patterns, because you never know when this project is going to crop up again and I'm wanting to reuse. Once again, I traced this at home just so that I could demo Now I am not going to glue, as I said, I'm not going to be gluing the wrapping paper onto my lamp. I like this wrapping paper, and such a deal it was for $1, but I'm not ready to change my sweet little lampshade into this pattern just yet. But I just wanted to cut out one of these gourd strips, just so that our imagination could run with us for a sec, and we could get an idea of what a gourd would look if we went every other gourd onto a fabric. By the way, now I'm using wrapping paper today, but when it comes to all of these projects, really, the frame, the candle, the inside of the envelope, and now I'm at a lamp, you could of course use fabric. Whew, so now I'm stretching it even more, huh? Fabric, wallpaper, or wrapping paper that I'm demoing once again at my local thrift shop for $1, folks, and I'm probably only using 2 feet of this paper altogether. So look at that beautiful idea. If I would now, I'm not gluing it down today simply because I don't want to take this demo home and use it. I want to keep my simple basic lampshade, but look how pretty that would look if I went every other gourd or strip of this lamp with this pattern. A simple makeover. It beats spending $30 for a brand new lampshade. Now a word about the glue. Here again, even the new fandangled light bulbs, they do effervesce quite a bit of heat in the translucence heat. So I would recommend only using our friend Tacky Glue, okay? Now, as promised, a little word about the life-changing and hope-bringing work that we do. Hey, don't worry, guys, in the studio. I'll pick up my trash. A word about the hope-bringing and the life-changing work at Foothills Pregnancy Resource Center, and how do we have you covered at FPRC? That's the title of today's show. We've got you covered. A really strong catchphrase, a phrase that we believe in, that we do at Foothills Pregnancy Resource Center, is we build up a team around every male and female client that comes into the pregnancy center. So a question we might shoot at you is, tell us about your team. Tell us, who do you have in your life around you that's a strong support system? So we model support systems to our clients so that they're taking away practical, hands-on, learned knowledge that they've gained at the pregnancy center out to the real world to do their life. So let me shoot at you real briefly what a few of those examples are. We have a monthly parenting class, excuse me, whereby moms and dads and their kids, they come and they learn from seasoned, experienced professionals about ways to do their family and home life better and stronger. In the case of losses surrounding a pregnancy center, whether that's abortion, miscarriage, stillbirth, infancy, death, we have grief, recovery, those life support groups. Every Tuesday evening, one of our most exciting programs that we have going at FPRC is a support group, wherein, here again, it's led by a fully trained professional facilitator, and she just meets with the gals every Tuesday evening, and we work on life issues and support. That is just a brief example at how at FPRC, that's Foothills Pregnancy Resource Center, we got you covered. Now, real quickly, I want to wrap today's program with 2 more demos. Here again, this is a piece that I'm not going to actually do the entire demo on the air, but I just want to show you what a sweet facelift this could be. You recognize what this is, folks. It's one of the, what would you call it, like a sofa table or a bed tray? This is a little out of the subject, but it is a great repurposing word. I used to have a German Shepherd, and before he passed, like a lot of big dogs, he started developing joint issues, and a vet told me once, one of these tables, which by the way, you see these tables all the time at thrift shops, so you can find one of these things for a couple of bucks. Anyway, my vet suggested that if I put my dog's food on this tray and then this was elevated on the ground, that was much better for his neck, so that he wasn't straining his vertebra so much looking down. Okay, enough of my vet advice. That was for free. How I thought this could be a sweet facelift. On this tray, take here again just a wee chunk of this wrapping paper, secure this onto, what do these trays normally look like? Either they're like a rattan or a raffia based base, or plastic like this one. Now this plastic can get pretty marred and scarred after a while. So maybe I just want to give it a facelift, or I want this to match the new color scheme of my dish towels in my kitchen, whatever. Here's how I would suggest we do it. Don't need a pattern per se for this one, but just cut the piece to fit the top of the, in this case, the nightstand. I would glue this down once again with our faithful and loyal friend Tacky Glue. Can't go wrong with Tacky Glue. But here's a final word about once this is glued down, of course, letting the dry time process. Tacky Glue dries pretty quickly, but you probably just want to be safe. You want to give it a good strong couple of hours to dry. Then I would suggest, whether you're going to use this for your dear sweet family pet, or this is just going to be a utilitarian kitchen or bed tray. Now is when I'm getting into more hardcore stuff. Mod Podge you can find, or a product like a Mod Podge, at any area local craft store. The spreadability of this is super easy. You can glop this stuff on. You don't have to be neat and tidy with your brush strokes at all. But what that does is it really builds a strong and durable coat over the top of this. You can get it high gloss if you want your top coat to look shiny, or not. You can do a matte coat. So that is just going to add to the durability. Now, a word of just advice, not really caution, but a practical word about Mod Podge. If you use Mod Podge or a product like it, it's on there for good. It's not going anywhere. So once you use this, you're kind of stuck with this new facelift. But here's the nice thing about doing the wrapping paper idea. In another couple of years, you could actually put another coat, another layer of wrapping paper on top of the bed tray and just do it again. Okay, remember how I said, as we have been doing some of these demos today, hang on to those scraps. I'm going to show you this sweet idea. I actually saw this in a friend's home, so thank you, friend. I'm totally using your idea. Back to my pattern. I traced out, you recognize this. This is just one of those little like party favor flag shapes. So I'm going to trace it onto, that scrap's a little too teeny. Don't even need to trace this because it's small enough that I can just hold the pattern onto the paper like this and cut away. And away we go. Let those scraps fall. Don't worry, I'll pick up my mess here in the studio. They're used to me. I make messes every time I come. Okay, I'm cutting our little flag shape. And then maybe you've figured out by now what I'm going to do. I'm simply going to bend over the top of this flag just a wee bit. What is that? Maybe about 1/4 to 1/2 an inch. And using my handy dandy stapler, I'm going to start making this sweet little flag. This could adorn a door jamb. It could be in a kid's room. It could announce a party. It could be, whoops, that staple's kind of going nowhere. But you get the idea. Just make a little flag like this of these little decorative pieces over a door jamb, over a window, in a kid's room, announcing a party, a shower. So quick review. We even repurpose the scraps that we've been using of the wallpaper, making a simple little fun party-like adorning flag. Going back to the beginning, we made a fancy interior of an envelope. Now, I don't think I mentioned, so I'll take the sec to do now. Remember how we had torn apart the shape of the envelope? We could actually trace the envelope pattern shape onto the wrapping paper and have an entire envelope out of this paper. That would be a beautiful gift enclosure, very fancy, without the fancy stationer price. We gave a new look to a tired old frame. Let's say now this is a better coordinating to the interior of my home. We refaced and repurposed a tired old tumbler and made it a lovely stand-alone gift that anyone would love to receive. Give them away in a set or one at a time. Aha! The bed tray or your fancy dog's tray, whichever you choose to use. For most of these projects, remember, I was using simple glue stick or tacky glue, and then I suggested when you were done gluing the wrapping paper onto this bedside table that you seal it off finally with some Mod Podge, making it really strong and durable. And last but not least, I brought in a lamp from home that, just hypothetically speaking here, let's say I wanted to fancy up every other gourd in this pattern. Now, what I didn't mention is you could do this simply on a flat, let's say a rectangular or a square lamp. You wouldn't even have to trace a pattern out, such as I did with this gourd. You could just wrap this paper around the lampshade and glue it down. Gluing this time most probably with tacky glue, so it's not, the lampshade isn't going to melt away from you once the lamp bulb, the light bulb, starts producing some heat. Remember though, if you're covering a lampshade, you don't want any of those loose ends of paper tucked on the inside of the lampshade. Let's not bring the fire department due to your home improvement project. So trim away all paper right at the top and the base of the lampshade. Oh, it's always fun. I'd love to hear from you. I know that this has just whetted your appetite. You've got some rolls, I know you do, of wrapping paper in your closet, whether they're holiday or all occasion. Have at it. Have some fun. See what repurposing projects using wallpaper, paper, or wrapping paper. And let me hear from you. You guys are great at that. Just stick with the address, the email address at the end of the show. I'd love to hear from you, and you can catch all of the details there for FPRC. For Foothills Pregnancy Resource Center and Recycling Hope, I'm Lori Berg, signing off. See you next time.